Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight I want to welcome Rand Kelly to the show. Tonight we are doing a career retrospective on the band Klaatu. This is pretty good. Let's get started. Rand is here.
Grant is changing the world one track at a time on Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight I want to welcome Rand Kelly to the show. Tonight we're going to take a look at, well, I'm going to call them a prog rock band or a progressive group of some sort. This band is so much more than just progressive rock. It's hard to even categorize them, but I'm going to go with progressive rock. It's a band that started out in 1973. Band consisted of three primary members, John Wallachuk, Dee Long, and Terry Draper. We're talking about the band Klaatu. Now, if anybody remembers back in the day, they had a mystery identity. People thought that they were the Beatles. Some radio station, I believe, in New England started that. They didn't start it, but Capitol Records here in the States, they used it to their advantage. So, but really, this isn't the Beatles under a different pseudonym or anything. But we're going to look at the catalog, talk about what we like, what we don't like. We'll do a ranking at the end. But I want to welcome Rand Kelly. Like I said, Rand, how are you? Are you ready to talk some? You ready to talk some Klaatu?
Oh yeah.
So Rand,
thanks for doing this.
You got it. Let me ask you this: you've probably had a lot more experience with Klaatu. How did you get turned on to them?
Yeah, it's funny. That album was just everywhere, like at Tower Records. It was just sitting there like this, and nobody knew what it was, and they hadn't really gotten on the radio yet. I don't think. I think Capitol put it out before the big hit, "Calling Occupants of Interplanetary Craft," which was the song that pretty much set off the Beatles rumor, because the original vocalist right in the very beginning is the drummer Terry Draper, and he tried real hard, I think, to sound like John Lennon on Lucy and the Sky with Diamonds. Very, very mellow, not trying real hard to sing, but getting it across, and it sounds lovely. That's what that sounds like. And the whole sound of this record is due to a man named Terry Brown. And Rush fans, with their ears just went because of the sound that he gave Rush. But before he did Rush, he did these guys. And he was with them for a couple of years and made him sound just absolutely stunning, I think. I think the quality of this album, it's kind of like, for me, it's like with Magical Mystery Tour and like half of the Yellow Submarine album. And then the Beatles didn't follow it with the White Album, or what I like to call the Beatles. And they followed it with this album. It kind of connects as far as tonal sound. I think it has that kind of like magical psychedelic, not necessarily drug oriented, but you know what I mean? Just the sound of the guitars and the whole thing. I think that first album is an absolute masterpiece debut. And I think it was sorely misunderstood because of that DJ over in, I don't know where he was, but
I think Connecticut, maybe. I could be wrong, or New Hampshire, somewhere over there.
Yeah, there's a big story in this Klaatu CD that I got. I was just telling Grant that I must be in the Twilight Zone because I can't find the disc. It's not here. It's just a bunch of booklets and stuff. I don't know where the disc would be. I got to do some searching because
those digipacks drive me crazy. I don't know if that's exactly a digipack, but it drives me crazy.
Yeah, this is very Twilight Zone. But anyways, I mean, every song doesn't sound like the Beatles, and I'll just go through it. Like the first one kind of does. It's a very. By the way, before we get going on this, the origin of all this is due to this movie, The Day the Earth Stood Still, starring Michael Rennie. And of course, he's not on the cover. That's the robot Gort. But Michael Rennie plays an alien named Klaatu. And this is where they got the whole theme. But I used to have a book called The Flying Saucer Reader. And in there was World Contact Day. a poem that had been written, and the song "Calling Occupants of Interplanetary Craft" literally stole those words and made the song out of it. So it's pretty cool. This is one case where I don't have a problem with the lifting. But anyways, to go to this first album, yeah, it was released as one word, Klaatu, in America. Now in Canada, I don't know if you can see this, but in Canada it was called 347 EST, which was the same time the saucer lands in the baseball park in Washington, D.C. But in America, it was just called Klaatu.
Mm-hmm.
Right here, Klaatu. And on the back, they had the song titles and a picture. No names of any kind are on the album. So it was produced by Klaatu, written by Klaatu, performed by Klaatu. It was just Klaatu, Klaatu, Klaatu. And nobody knew nothing, which led or helped fuel the rumor that this is the Beatles, which killed these people, their career. It started out really good until that guy made that claim. Then there was a backlash of Beatles fans going, "They're not the Beatles, they're liars." They just went.
Yeah, I think that was a detriment. It's like one of those situations, Rand. Either it's a blessing or a curse. I don't think they really, at least here in the States, I'm not sure how it affected them in Canada, but I don't think they really ever recovered out of that because people, I think, held a grudge to some degree.
Well, in the first place, the only single that got on the radio was "Calling Occupants of Interplanetary Craft," which, as a side note, a couple of years later, or 1 year later, would be covered by the Carpenters on their album Passage. Or was it Passages? One or the other. But anyways, it's a nice cover. I was going to go through the songs. So we get past "Calling Out Occupants of Interplanetary Craft." No matter what this band does next, it's not going to get on the radio. They've become a cult band that only people like me and you are going to like.
Well, I got turned on to when I was a kid because my uncle and my aunt picked it up because, I was a big Beatle fan at this point. And they brought it up to our house and said, "This is supposed to be the Beatles." It was that whole rumor thing. So he picked it up to see. I mean, they sold records because of it.
I know. Oh, no. The debut album sold like massive amounts to Beatles fans, but they turned on them so bad they didn't buy anything else. And nobody thought, like, the second song sounds nothing like the Beatles. It's called California Jam. Guess who it does sound like? The Beach Boys. It's got total Beach Boys. It's about surfing. It's also about a tidal wave taking out California, having half the state fall into the ocean while surfing.
But Rand, I have to you mentioned the Beach Boys reference. It's totally influenced by that. But the people that actually thought that this was the they sound nothing like the Beatles. Yeah, it reminds you of something from 1968, 67, in 1976, but it doesn't sound like the Beatles. It's Beatle influence, 60s band influence, but that's people were. I just can't believe it. People wanted the Beatles so badly then to come back that they're doing whatever they can.
And this is the same year as Rush 2112. So Terry Brown, he's been a busy boy.
Well, this record was recorded over a span of like 3 years. They just went in and recorded when they could.
The third song, "Anus of Uranus," was a horrible title, but it was originally called Hanus, Hanus. Capital removed the H.
Well, it's on here. The original version's on this comp.
Yeah. I love that. That's a good thing to have. That's Sunset. We'll talk about that later. Yeah. But anyways, Anus of Uranus doesn't sound like anybody. That's an original Klaatu sound. But by this time, everybody's got the Beatles in their head, right? Because if they're listening to it, they're going, well, this kind of sounds like the Beatles. Like I kind of hear a George Harrison guitar sound, or something like that. Sub Rosa Subway, that sounds like the Beatles. Trust me. John Wallachuk is doing his best Paul McCartney imitation ever. And the ending is like a 3-minute jam with a subway going by constantly in your ears and stuff. And it sounds just like the ending to It's All Too Much. They even do the same things, those reverse, like stuff like that, right out of Yellow Submarine. It's on there. It's on
and
there. That's a George Harrison song, right? So, anyways, that ends the side one. And then True Life Hero just sounds like some rock band. You don't even know who to compare it to, which means it's original, right? Then there's Dr. Marvolo. This is a slow, spacey, haunting kind of sound. And the bass guitar through this entire album sounds like a Hofner played with a pick. It does sound like McCartney.
I think that's
or a Rickenbacker. I don't know.
One of them. I know he played,
but I know flatwound
he had
strings
a Rick.
for sure.
Yeah,
it's definitely flatwound strings. There's no doubt about it. Because I've got that. My Hofner has flats, and it's got that thumpy boom sound. Boom boom.
Yeah,
Anyways, so Dr. Marvolo is actually a tribute to the Turtles. You showed me. I think. Sounds very much like it. And I also read that John Wallachuk and company did say, yeah, it is a tribute to You Showed Me by the Turtles.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. And, oh, God, I forgot to grab my Nightwind CD. Anyways, I'll talk about that. But anybody wants to look that up, they can look it up on Discogs. It's really rare. It was put out by Ken Golden and the Laser's Edge, by the way. So anyways, after that comes Sir Bodsworth Rugglesby III, which to me sounds like a culmination of When I'm 64, what's that?
Kind of folky, kind of vaudeville.
Yellow Submarine. Oh, Octopus's Garden. It's just sort of a culmination. There's a lot of Beatles on Sir Bodsworth Rugglesby III. They even have, and another song it kind of copies a little bit is Honey Pie on the Beatles' White Album. There, that part about send me a message across the sea or something, and you hear that orchestra going like the waves, This does the same thing on that song. And then the big closer, which sounds nothing like the Beatles, is what I consider probably their best song, Little Neutrino. It's 8 minutes and 18 seconds long, and it's a psychedelic Pink Floyd masterpiece tribute. It just, there's a lot of organ. It all starts out with organ through an echoplex or something, and it's just got all these sounds. And they did the vocal. The vocal's really weird sounding. I read this story. I couldn't believe it. They met this guy, and he had one of these electronic voices like this. And they said, that sounds great. Can we use that? And he loaned it to him, and they did the recordings.
I didn't know that story. That's great.
Yeah. Because a lot of people think it's a talk box on a guitar, but it really isn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound the same. Those first time I heard that was from Jeff Beck on Blow by Blow. Or actually, it was Joe Walsh doing Rocky Mountain Way. But anyways, I've always liked that song. I never bought one of those, but I always thought it would be hard to clean those tubes. It'd be full of slobber and stuff.
Yeah, you'd have to get them. Yeah,
but anyways,
I don't know how
that's
you keep
pretty
it together.
much. Little Neutrino it's a headphone treat. This whole album's a headphone treat.
Well, you mentioned the sound quality. You mentioned Terry Draper. This record just shows how brilliant Terry Draper was as an engineer. This record in the
Terry
audio
Brown.
file, what did I say? Terry Draper?
Draper.
There's a lot of Terrys going on here.
Terry Draper's got some really great solo albums. I've got one called Light Years On that I really like a lot. I haven't heard in a long time. Got to
But
grab
Terry
that too.
Brown,
Yeah, Terry Brown.
it just goes to show you how brilliant he was as far as an engineer. And this is like considered an audiophile favorite because people would use this record to test sound systems because the drums
absolutely.
on this album are absolutely stunning. And it sounds
That's
great.
true. Yeah. And people have to realize this is just three guys,
Right.
Using the studio the way the Beatles did
Mm-hmm.
in Sgt. Pepper, Magical Mystery Tour, Yellow Submarine, and Abbey Road mostly. But the sonic quality of this album cannot be understated, and it's had some pretty good. I don't know. It didn't need any remastering, really. It was good just as is.
Well, I'm just
for some reason
say,
I have all the LPs except that. For some reason I got rid of mine. I guess when I started buying, I have 2 copies of this. I used to have a copy of this, but I don't know where the disc is. I can't even figure out where they put the disc.
I've got the original Capitol CD, and I think it sounds great. It's not brick walled. It's not jacked up. A lot of those later CDs, they're pretty maximized. There's no dynamic range. And this record is full of dynamic range. It's just absolutely brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
And like you just said, I don't think it needed any remastering. It was fine out of the gate, the original CDs. If you're looking at CDs. Now, albums, I can just tell you this, that the original orange label Capitol sounds good. I don't have a problem with it at all. But there you go. Great record.
What's my label on this one? I forgot.
Oh, that's Capitol. That's a good one right there.
Yeah, I bought this in 77. This is the original copy.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason this is, by the way, I picked up the album Hope. We've already jumped to the second album.
Yeah.
If you can get it, try to find Hope if you want Hope. Look at this artwork. It's just stunning. Both sides. I love this artwork. It's one of my favorite album covers. This could fit in your album cover show of top 5 album covers of all time. And it's got texture. You can actually feel it rubbing on your fingers. So it's really, I think it's kind of hard to find because I've seen reissues of this that doesn't have the texture.
But anyways, cover.
Since we're into this album, this is called Hope, and this came out 1 year later in 77. And Capitol stuck with them. Yeah. And it starts out with "We're Off, You Know." Well, this sounds like Paul McCartney again. This is John Woloschuk. The opening guitar part on this is fantastic. And it does sound a lot like the Beatles. But we're off, to a distant land, and the only ones allowed to come are those who feel they can. I mean, it's such a cool tune. It's just that dunk, 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 the kind of bass playing and stuff. It sounds like a Beatles tune right out of Magical Mystery Tour or Sgt. Pepper. I really think so. Mm-hmm. The next cut is Madman. I'm not a big fan of this song.
Oh, I love it. That's a D-Long song.
Yeah, it's a D-Long song. And I don't mean to put it down in any way, but it's just got, I like to hear the chords when I listen because I got a pretty good ear. And when they do that Madman, dun, 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 it's very dissonant, almost King Crimson-ish. I can't tell what chords they're playing. I have to look at it.
I like it because it's kind of heavy, Yeah,
I
mean, there's a lot of variety on this album too, just like the debut. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can't pigeonhole these guys. They're all over the map. But it just shows how talented they are, and they can do anything that they wanted to do. But the beginning the vocal is great, where he goes, you You tried and were thrown out from the garden. Now you find it harder still. It's all about insanity, you know. But then they go, it's just, it's the dynamics of really beautiful to really annoying. But I don't hate the song. It's just not my favorite. My favorite is the next one called Around the Universe in 80 Days. That's another DeLonge song. And I think that's the best song on the whole album. I love that tune because, you know, into saucers and all that stuff. And the song is about aliens wanting to come to Earth, which is also from Calling Occupants of Interplanetary Craft. It kind of connects that way. And they leak it out that their planet is the second from the sun. Well, if that would be Venus, right? And that's a great song. And it's just got incredible keyboards, very heavy kind of keyboard work here. The organ is just humongous sounding. It's so good. And then after that is this really, really weird tune called Long Live Polyxania, where they have some kind of old man telling a story about the destruction of the planet Polyxania. It's all about greed and, you know, false god worship and stuff like that. But at the end, it's got like every freaking ending of every classical song you ever heard in your life all rolled together, connected like a train. And they don't seem to know when to stop it. It just goes, I mean, once the song is over, it's like 5 minutes of that. I mean, I love it. It's cool. But it's always going dun 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 dun. You get this galloping thing going. You can hear the horses and stuff, and then you hear a guitar going. You know, like
but I mean, there's a lot of shifting of dynamics.
Like Eddie Van Halen was doing a year later, doing that horsey thing with his whammy bar. DeLonge was doing that in '77. No, this is great. And then you turn it over, and it's The Loneliest of Creatures, which to me sounds like Queen. They got, you know, like this massive vocal thing going on with choirs and all that. Prelude's really cool tune, and that leads up into So Said the Lighthouse Keeper and The Hope. I got to say, the second side is not real rocking, you know what I mean? All the rock's on side one. But if you want to just like a head trip from start to finish, this is like the second side of Abbey Road after Because. It's just amazing. And the thing you showed before, the Sunset, this whole album was done with the London Symphony on that Sunset album, but it only uses it a little bit on this album.
Well, they made him go back and, you know.
Oh,
well, some of it was able, you know, The Loneliest Creature still has the orchestral music, but a lot of it they had to go back and redo.
I forgot to show the lyric sheet. See, and the original album didn't have the lyrics, the first album, I mean. So you had to really listen close to hear what was going on. So when Hope came out, they just gave you everything. And it was really, really cool.
Did it? It didn't list any band members. That didn't come. No band members were listed until the next record. They didn't list a
band member until Endangered Species, because I wrote them a letter. I was living in Eureka
Army
at the time.
That had the band members on it, I think.
No,
because don't forget Endangered Species. Well, that record we'll get. They only
showed the members of the band on the cover. I think one of those guys is Terry Brown, but we'll get to that. Oh yeah,
you're right. One of them is Terry Brown.
I don't know which one. It's probably this guy here with the suitcase pointing out to where they're going. But it's a pretty cool. Now here's a different kind of label for Capitol. Look at this. It's an actual picture of the album on the label.
I'm not sure if I've got that one.
Yeah, this came out in 1978. I've had it all along. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. This also came out on a twofer.
Yeah, I've got that. By the way, it's subtle, but there's a moon face right there. And then on the back, it's a sun. This one will show you. But anyways, I'll talk about this. Are we doing it fine? I mean, I don't know we're not going to trade back and forth, or
What?
Are we all right?
No, you're
The way
all
we're
right.
doing it?
You just keep,
Yeah.
Rand, you just keep
Okay.
going. You're doing great.
Okay.
I'll add
This is
stuff when
another
we go. You're all right.
this is another one where Capitol gave you all the lyrics, everything, but no information on who wrote what.
All right. So it must be the next record then.
No band
I don't
members
know
or anything
why
like that.
what was the reasoning behind that? Do you know why they just
Yeah,
didn't
they
list the
said that
band members?
they said that they didn't want to be egotistical because they knew nobody would know their names, so they just wanted the music to speak for itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of bit them in the butt.
Well, let me ask you this, because we're going to talk about
Yeah.
it, but how did you feel about this record? Because it kind of shifts back to more like the first album, I think. More
I like it a lot.
whimsical.
Yeah. But look what was happening in 1978. Gentle Giant was on Capitol. They put out Giant for a Day. I think this smokes Giant for a Day.
Oh, Rand, you can't say that against Gentle Giant. Everybody take note. Rand is
Have you
says out
heard
smokes.
Giant for a Day? There's no
I
prog on it.
did I hear that one? No, I don't.
The
I've never
first
heard
song
it,
is
Rand.
great. The first song is great. Well, we should do a show
Uh,
on me defending that album because I don't hate it. But
in
anyways,
defense of Giant for a Day.
the first song is I woke up, it was a routine day. I went for the bus in the usual way,
Very
or
Beatles.
stuff like that. Something like that. But anyways, a routine day, it's a cool song. They made a video out of it and put it on TV, like on Night Flight and in concert and things like that.
Oh,
But because MTV hadn't started yet. But anyways, a routine day, really nice song. It's a John Woloshock composition. I love it so much. I learned how to play it, and I have a video on YouTube of me playing it on the piano and the guitar. I did two. It's not an easy song to sing live while playing piano, trust me. Anyway, the second song is called Juicy Lucy. But it doesn't sound like the Beatles.
no.
Just sounds like
It's catchy. It's whimsical. It's very bouncy. I mean, it's not like
Everybody
a
took
very
a-
heavy duty track or anything. It's fine. I don't have a problem with
The
it.
next tune, Everybody Took a Holiday. Yeah, that's kind of Beatley, you know.
Mhm.
Da 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 stuff like it's very Beatley.
It's kind of
The next song,
reminiscent of any, kind of a classic pop tune, you know?
yeah, it sounds like something that you'd hear off of Abbey Road, maybe.
Yeah.
But anyways, the next song, Older, is so different than anything this band's ever done up to this point. I love Older. Let me tell you a quick story about Older. Every band that I ever started, I demanded that we learn Older and play at bars. It worked. Nobody knew. They thought we wrote it because
it's kind of a
we'd say,
dark song. Kind of.
Just the way it goes. If Black Sabbath did that song, boy, what a sound it would be. But I love that tune. It's so heavy. And Dear Christine is a really pretty ballad. Nice way to end the album. Then trouble starts on side 2. You got a song called Mr. Manson. Now, anybody can stand there in the store and look at that and go, they wrote a song about Charlie Manson in 1978. Why? But they also mention Hitler and they also mention somebody else in it, but it doesn't sound like the Beatles.
No, it does not.
And then there's another song after that that starts out very much like a Beatles song called Tokimore Field. And I don't know where that is or if it's real place or anything, but it's a good song. It's got great harmonies and stuff. Sounds very Beatley. But the next tune I love to death called Perpetual Motion Machine. Now, you're going to think I'm crazy maybe, but I think this song sounds like the Moody Blues when they're doing peak hour on Days of Future Past. It's really fast.
Yeah. But I love the
whole
arrangement.
song's like that.
The tempo, the arrangement.
The vocals are absolutely killer. The guitar work is just so good. And then after that, there's a really mellow called like a waltz or something called Cherie. Not a big fan of that. Then after that
So I think it's kind of
is an
catchy.
insane song called Silly Boys.
Well,
Now it
let me
sounds
ask
like they're
you.
singing backwards on this song, but they're really not. They're actually singing forward, but they've made the sound like Terry Brown made the sound like it was backwards. So what happened was when they put the lyrics on this thing, where is it at over here? They wrote it in reverse. So you have to look at it in a mirror to see the lyrics. Insane, huh?
Hey,
Hey, you're not very popular already. You've pissed a lot of Beatles fans off. What are you going to do? Make it even harder to read the lyrics?
almost like career suicide. Not
Yeah,
really. They're very creative. I get it.
it says. I mean, you can't read this because it's insane, but it's got right now. If we wait for the opportunity, so, it says it sounds backwards. Let's write it backwards. We'll make everybody
Hey,
go to
why
the
not?
mirror.
Live a little.
Grand Funk Railroad, TNUC. All I say.
So what do you think
That's all I
about
gotta say.
um well, do you remember when this record came out?
Yeah, 1978. Yeah,
No, but I mean, do you remember how this was received when it came out?
nobody cared.
No one
Oh, by
cared.
the way, this is the first one that comes with embossment. You can actually touch those letters for the
Yeah,
title, and
yeah,
the and nobody ever explained what Sir Army Suit means. I don't know,
I don't know.
but yeah, I like the record a lot. I'm a big fan.
Okay, cool.
I'm not hot on Mr. Manson, but you
Well,
know
it is what it is. It kind of throws a different
exactly.
flair
Yeah,
to the record.
exactly. I'll just go ahead and read you the lyrics. I mean, God, this is just too fun. He looks at the girls with his evil eye, makes them wish they were someplace else. He'll twist their thoughts with his pretty words, make them extensions of himself. He's the reincarnation of Hitler, the daughter of the devil, all right. Tell me, won't you, Mr. Manson, do you sleep at night? Then you got a different guy. Well, he'd like to melt your mind with hydrochloric acid in a little pill. He'll take a thing called love and make you hate it and claim to cure your ills. He took the madness of a generation and made them madder still. Tell me, won't you, Mr. Leary, keep your little pills?
Yeah.
And then it goes back to he'll fill you with his empty statements directed to a fool. Then he'll ignore his own unending speeches and bend the golden rule. In the name of God, he'll tell you that he's better than all the rest. Let me tell you, Mr. Preacher, Jesus has been and left. Let me tell you, Mr. Manson, Jesus has been and left. Because Manson used to claim that he was Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I lived through
So
all that.
was
Folks, I'm
this
72
influence?
years old. I lived through all this.
Well, was it influence? Did Helter Skelter, the book, come out by this time? I'm assuming so.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
So it
Vincent
might be like
Bugliosi's
influence from that. Yeah.
Vincent Bugliosi's Helter Skelter. Absolutely. The Beatles were horrified by that book, by the way.
Well,
And,
yeah.
and what because Paul always said, I wrote that song about a slide in
Yeah.
England at a
The
carnival.
playground slide. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They called him Helter Skelter. And if you listen to the lyrics, that's what it's about. When I get to the bottom, I go back to the top of the slide. Pretty obvious. Okay, so this is the album that came out next. Now, I got the purple label, Capital.
Excellent. That's what you want.
Okay, so that's the problem with this album. The artwork is the best thing about it.
I agree.
Another beautiful cover. Look at this.
Oh, it's stunning artwork. Yeah.
It reminds me of, I don't know what it reminds me of. Little Mermaid, maybe? Okay. So, anyways, on the back, it says produced and arranged by Christopher Bond.
He was
All
the Hall &
songs-
Oates guy, I think.
All songs published by Klaatu. So you look in this, and it's got all the lyrics again, but right down here on the corner, it says, and I can barely read it because it's faded already. It says produced. Okay, I've already read that. It says right, Klaatu, P.O. Box 1030, Oak Ridges, Ontario, Canada. LOG IPO, and it says, it's got like a story about endangered species. But then at the bottom, it says Spring 1980, Terry Draper, D. Long, and John Wallachuk.
Mm-hmm.
For further information, contact something about the endangered species in Switzerland. But they gave their names out on this album. It's the first time. Now, this came out in 1980. Klaatu gets an offer to go to LA and make their next album paid by Capitol Records. They go, okay. They go
I
to
think
LA.
they made them do it, didn't they?
They had already owed him money, but they gave him more. But anyways, they go to LA, they walk into the studio, and they go, you don't need your instruments. We've already recorded the tunes. They wrote the songs. They sent them the tapes.
So they knew what
they come from Ontario, Canada to Los Angeles, and they tell them, all you got to do is put on your vocals, a la Pet Sounds. And they're going, what?
Mm-hmm.
They were pissed.
Well,
so they were under contract. They had no choice. Christopher Bond is credited on Discogs as playing everything except the drums. And then they hired some other session drummer. I used to think it might have been Toto. It wasn't Toto. It was all this Christopher Bond guy.
It doesn't sound like Toto.
Right. I don't know. I'm not a huge Toto fan. But anyways, they did great vocals. The whole album is pretty good. It's not great, but it does rock. They did a song. They must have known what was going on because the next to the last song is called "Sell Out, Sell Out."
Mm-hmm.
That's the theme of this album is being sold out by Capitol, and after this, they're gone. They didn't, and nothing did good on this album. It didn't sell because nobody found out they weren't playing on it. That wasn't the reason.
Well, it was
the reason it didn't sell is because nobody cared about him anymore except people like you and me.
Well, the critics and the fans really didn't accept that more polished,
Right.
production sound, and I don't know.
It sounds good. I mean, it sounds
fine, I guess.
It sounds like an LA album. I mean,
that's the problem. It sounds like an LA album.
Exactly. And the fact that they weren't allowed to play. If I was in that band and they'd said that to me, I would have just gone through the roof. I don't know how they dealt with it. I really don't. Because they probably said, you owe us money, so this has to be a hit album. And of course it wasn't. It died on the vine. It was absolutely.
I don't have any issue with the song so much, but it just doesn't have any creativity. There's no spark here. You feel like they're just going through the motions. Of course they are. This band, they're totally disillusioned.
And to open the album up with Knee Deep in Love, that song is just, no, it's I Can't Help It. I can't help myself. That's a D Long tune. But you're right. It doesn't have any spark. It's like they're just going through
there's no prog here either.
Paint by numbers kind of thing, tracing what they used to do.
By numbers, yeah.
And then, surprise, surprise, surprise. I walk into the works in Eureka, California, and I see this in the rack. And I'm going, what? This is the Canadian pressing, for God's sake.
Well, it never got a release in here in the States.
This is the original 1981 Canadian pressing, I swear to God. And I hardly ever played it. It's in mint condition. It really is. So yeah, now they've got the thing that they've been teasing all along, right on the cover, the big, they call it the aerodrome, I guess. And it's on the back too. It's like maybe there's lights in there or something. It kind of, I don't know why, but when I look at this, it reminds me of Walt Disney's The Black Hole. Did you see that?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
With Maximilian Schell. Yeah, it's pretty good actually. But anyways, that's that album I've got to talk about because it was like, okay, we know there's fans out there and Capitol put this out, but it's from Canada. Now at this time, they give you the lyrics again. You get a lyric sheet. Look, it's all magenta.
And you get band photos.
Pictures of the two guys, the three guys, I mean. That's John Woloshock, D. Long, and Terry Draper. Terry Draper looks like a Southern rocker from the Allman Brothers.
He looks like Neil Peart.
Yeah, the kind of Jeff Skunk Baxter mustache. Yeah, this album is just, I don't know. I love it, but I always wish it was a little bit more like the first two. But A Million Miles Away, good rockin' song. It's a pop tune, of course. The Love of a Woman, I don't really like that one much. Blue Smoke, it's trying to be a rocker, but it's all about smog. And like, you get behind like a truck and blue smoke comes out of the pipe and stuff. That's what it's about.
Catchy, I'll give it that.
I Don't Want to Go Home I don't really remember it right now. That's how good it is. I can't remember it. December Dream is really pretty. That's
tribute to John Lennon.
That's a D. Long. That's what that's about.
Yeah, because he was killed the year before, December Dream, like number 9 Dream.
No, he was
that's tribute to John Lennon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
December Dream, How I Love You, We Boast. So that's his friend, huh? I don't know. I've never heard of that. But it's a nice song. I
understood.
Anyways, the Klaatu magic comes back on side 2 with Magentalane. With Magentalane.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Rich. And he says he uses the word Bane Rose and it says I mean rainbows, which is kind of clever. And then there's At the End of the Rainbow, which kind of connects to Magentalane. Very cool. Very Klaatu. Then the weirdest song they ever did, lyrically, is Mrs. Toad's Cookies. What is it about? Is Mr. Toad overeating and becoming like obese? I don't know what the point of the song is.
I don't think it means anything. I just think it's a bunch of just words that sound good together. Like, I don't know what it's about.
The melody is kind of cool because, the song's in E and the first chord is C. Kind of reminds me of Mean Mr. Mustard in a way. Mrs. Toad baked some cookies and Mr. Toad had a ball. Anyways.
Well, you look at Dr. Marvolo,
his tummy couldn't handle it all. What now?
Well, Dr. Marvolo and those quirky songs, it's kind of harks back to that. So
it's a story, good is good and bad as anybody knows, but too much good can be as sadly sad as too much bad, That just makes me dizzy. That's like audio dyslexia for me. I don't get it. But then the next song is absolute stunner. Love it. It's a D. Long song. It's called Maybe I'll Move to Mars. Oh my God. This song just tears my heart out. And then at the end they go, Magentalane, it feels so good. Feels so good to be back at home. Yeah. And that's pretty much the end of the Klaatu career right there. They didn't do anything else as far as new music after that. But
I don't have an issue with the
talk
record.
About.
Well, I kind of wish it got a release here in the States at the time, but
it never did, huh?
No.
Yeah, I think Capitol America thought, hey, nothing's sold since the first one out. We're not taking a chance. And if they compared it to Endangered Species, which was a setup, come on, they did that on purpose. Probably. They didn't have to do that. They could have let those guys come in and play, and if it wasn't good enough, then they could have hired that guy to do everything else. But it's almost like Yes Union, in a way. That would happen 11 years later in 91, where the producer just took over everything, and the band had no say whatsoever. Of course, Anderson had a lot of say.
Yeah, we don't talk about
union that wasn't. Anyways, then they did put this out, which I'm not real familiar, but why they did it. But it's kind of a best of called Soology, Klaatu Soology. and it's got some live tracks on it. At the End of the Rainbow, I Don't Want to Go Home, Cherie, Magentalane, All Good Things, and a real short version of Little Neutrino, 40, not 40, 4 minutes and 22 seconds of Little Neutrino. But I just got this to be a completist, and there's the guys. Yeah, they're just you know, this looks kind of cool. They put all the credits behind the disc.
Yeah,
A lot of Terry Brown credits on it.
well, Terry Brown had a lot to do with it. Did
Yeah,
I have a
yeah.
question because I don't know the answer. Did Terry
But it
Brown
does say, huh?
did Terry Brown have anything to do with Magentalane?
I don't, hang on. I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Oh, came
I
back into
don't
the
think he would have
fold.
bothered in 81 because he was doing
Okay.
moving pictures. And while they were recording this, he was probably doing permanent waves. But no, it says produced by Klaatu for Klaatu Productions.
Okay.
They're good producers. I mean, they've got good ears. They can turn them levers and make them sound good. I have no problem with the sound of any of their albums. They're all pristine, really good sounding records. There's not a clunker as far as production, I don't think. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it
But
looks like
why don't
they
you
recorded it.
why don't you bring up Sunset and we can talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause that's really what
Here you go.
came after. Yeah, that God, you got a good price on that, $2.
I got it for $2. It's in the cheapie bin. No
I
one
got
knew
mine
what this
brand
is.
new. I got mine. Was it brand new?
No, it's used. But no, it
Oh, I
doesn't
got
look like
mine.
it had ever
I
been
think I got
played.
mine brand new. Yeah. Well, mine is weird because it's a cardboard box that covers the cardboard box. You know what I mean? It's got a slip
Oh,
in it.
it's got a slip case.
Yeah. It's all cardboard. There's no plastic. But I don't know where it is right now. I couldn't find it. Probably in,
Well,
in my madness of my bedroom right now.
I think that this is the original CD. It's got a lot of text in it.
Yeah. Yeah. That I just saw all that on Discog, by the way. But you know what? As much as I dislike endangered species, I keep it.
Well, I don't
There's
have a
four
problem
there's
with it.
four guys there. How come there's four guys there?
Probably Terry Brown. No, I think it was the guy who did I can't tell. God,
There's a guy
I haven't looked at
there,
this in such a long time.
there's a name that comes up every now and again in their writing named Dino Torme or Dino Tomey. And he had something to do with this band, but they don't give him credit.
I'm gonna say it's the band along with Frank Davies, who
Oh,
is the founder of the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame,
well,
because it looks like he did the notes to it.
they probably got
Thanks to Terry
accolades.
Brown.
Huh?
Let's see. Thanks to Terry Brown for believing, taking the risk, and
Yeah.
playing me the Marvelo for starters. So they're just giving props to Terry Brown a lot on here.
Oh, yeah. And deservedly so, too. Because I think if his production isn't used on those first three albums, or at least maybe two albums, I'm not sure.
Hmm.
But they could have suffered big time if it didn't sound as good as it did, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, this Hope album with the textured cover, I don't know how rare that is. I do
No,
know I looked up.
that's just the regular domestic issue of it. I think it always had the
Yeah,
textured cover.
yeah, it is. Yeah.
I've never seen one ran without a textured cover here
Oh,
in the
really?
States.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I wasn't
Well,
sure
about
because
I don't
if
think
I'm
it
not
was in
sure about something.
that long. I don't think it was in print all that long either, because I don't think it really, well, we know it didn't do anything. But
I have a memory of there being a disc inside in its own little case and it actually stuck in there. It's probably over there in the other room. I can't believe that. I mean, there's literally no place to put the disc, so it must have slipped in there and just like that.
ladies and gentlemen, this is going to drive Rand up the wall if he doesn't figure this out.
It's
So,
all right. All right.
how would you rank these records if you're going to rank them?
Oh yeah.
I know what
Jeez,
I
it's
would do.
just I don't My God. I think the first two are tens. I mean, just for the production alone. I mean, I can get, my God, this is what they call ear candy, for Christ's sake.
Right.
You know. And Sir Army Suit, I give it a 9 because of Mr. Manson. I'm not a big fan of that song. Uh Endangered Species, I'd give it a 10 for the production, and I'd give it a 7 for the musicianship since it's not Klaatu, and I'd give it an 8.5 for the vocals. So probably an 8 for Endangered Species.
Mm-hmm.
Sir Army Suit, I'd give a. Did I already say that? A 9? Oh, I already said
No.
it. And Magentalane, that's a 10, easy.
Mm.
Just
See, I would.
because it's just a comeback album and it's their last blast, and everything. Sorry about that. My phone went ding. I forgot to turn it off.
Well, me personally, I don't think there's a
Yeah,
bad album. Yeah, even the Endangered Species, it's kind of a disappointment to some degree. I mean, I would put that last, and then I would go Magentalane, then I'd go Sir Army Suit, and then I'd go Hope, and then I'd go the debut.
yeah. See, I love Hope so much, especially the version on Sunset, that I would rate that first. Klaatu 347, EST second, Sir Army Suit third, Magentalane fourth, and Endangered Species
There you go.
fifth.
Yeah.
And
There's not anything bad here, though. I mean, if you like Klaatu and you want to go hear Endangered Species, it did come out on I don't know how it originally came out. I've got it on Bullseye on a twofer. So
yeah,
it's got
I
Sir
bought that
Army
too.
Suit, and this sounds fine.
I bought that too because I wanted to have Sir Army Suit on CD, and I figured, well,
Oh,
yeah, if
this
they're
is
going to
on
throw that in,
Attic. I'm sorry.
yeah, it's on Attic. I,
Which
I
is
figured if it's the only way I can get it, that's fine. I got it off of Amazon, but because I wanted all these on CD. But no, this band is the most misunderstood, talented group that I could think of. It'd be different if they were kind of like, mediocre,
right.
but they're excellent, and they didn't want anybody to know who they were. It's kind of like Kiss with their makeup. They were able to go anywhere they wanted, and nobody knew what they looked like, even though they were right on the cover of those Kiss albums that I didn't buy. And the only one I really like is Music from the Elder. But anyways, that puts me in a minority, I guess.
You know
But
what? I like that. I like Music from the Elder.
yeah, yeah. I always said it. My quick description of that record is it's Uriah Heep without a keyboard player.
We're going to quote you on that, Rand. There
Okay.
you go.
Well, speaking of keyboards,
Hmm.
um, well, what you haven't done your ranking yet, or have
I
you?
just did it. Already did it.
Oh,
I'm going to go
okay.
with the debut, then Hope, then Sir Army Suit, then Magentalane, and then I'm going to
Endangered
follow it
Species.
up with Endangered Species.
Yeah.
So,
When I first got that, I gave it every chance I could. I listened to it. Oh, it's a new Klaatu, and there's no information, but I did write them a letter. I told them I really loved them and stuff. But I remember going to somebody's house, and their little brother or their sister or something had this
mhm.
album in the bedroom, and I thought, well, I'm not going to buy that if she likes it. She's like 7. It's like, what an idiot. But
Oh well,
that was 1976, and things were different. I was living in Sacramento, and things
it's a
were
different
different.
world.
Yeah.
Well, do you have anything else you want to add about this catalog before we wrap it up?
Well, there's some live concert stuff on YouTube if anybody really is interested to see what they could do live. They did do some performances, and like I said, it's on that
The best
Soloology.
of, yeah,
Yeah. But there's
yeah.
different versions like that thing you got Sunset. Those are all
Mhm.
different takes of the early stuff like Heinous of Uranus and
Oh,
Little Neutrino and all that stuff is so different.
if you can find it for a decent price, and I don't know, I'm not a big streamer. I don't know if it's available on
Hey,
Spotify.
I went on Discogs to look at it. Look what I found. Wait, I had it. Looky what I found.
Oh no.
This is gonna blow your mind. See all
Oh boy.
versions for sale.
Yes, sir. I can't
I
see it.
don't know
What
if you
is it?
can
Just
read.
read it.
I don't know if you can read that, but it
Mm-mm.
says estimated collection value $473. No, that's something else. Never mind. Never mind. That's stupid.
Well, do
That's
they
what I
have
was
any
trying
up
to show
there?
you. Well, this is what I was trying to show you, but I'm not sure you can see it. But anyways, I'll tell you what it says. Oh
It's too
no,
bright.
we couldn't find anything matching your selected filters.
Well, there aren't any up there for sale.
2005, see all versions.
That's what I've got.
Uh, yeah, it just actually, yeah, it says zero for sale. Last one sold October 16th, 2023 for $80
There you go.
used.
Maybe I should sell mine. I got it for $2.
I got in when I'm getting was good because I think I got a brand new one. But like I said, it was cardboard. It wasn't the kind you have.
Well, it could be. Well, I'm looking it up. Uh, do you have any of the solo stuff, like the Terry Draper solo albums? Or
Yeah, I
anything?
have. Yeah, I have this first album, Light Years On. It's really good. I didn't buy any more because at the time I didn't have a lot of money. And also
Holy crap.
D Long did that album by that band Night Winds
Hmm.
out of Canada. And that's very rare. I bought it from Ken Golden at the Laser's Edge because he put that out on his own label. And they're good. They're a good prog band. Check out Night Winds on
I've got it.
NIGHT.
I've got it.
Oh, not you. I mean, the people.
Oh, no.
Check
I've
it out
got
on
it though.
YouTube if you can't find it. I don't even know if it's on streaming or not.
Wow. I see that they've re-released. Well, I'm looking at Klaatu Sunset. They have a rarities package that also has the same cover, but
That's the one I've got. Yeah, I think that's the one I got. It's cardboard. Does it look cardboard?
rarities. I don't know.
Well, it says Sunset. I don't know. It's got all kinds of tunes on it. They just go
I
forever.
just see the one version of Sunset on here. Let me
Okay,
look.
let me see if I can find it.
There's another one that came out on Bullseye, and this is Bullseye, but maybe it's a different
Yeah, it says
version.
Bullseye right on the thing. But when you go to the CD part, it says see all versions. Yeah, it
Mhm.
keeps going around in circles. It's just showing
Oh,
that
here it
is on the
is. I
back.
see it. Yeah,
That's on
this
the
is the
back.
version I'm looking at it, and it's the same version I've got that's in a jewel case.
But it's
So I don't
cardboard.
know. Well, not the one that I just looked at. There's
Well, I'll
probably a
tell you
couple
what I'll
different.
do. I'll tell you what I'll do when I find it.
Hmm.
I'll take a screenshot of everything, or maybe make a little movie for you on the video part of the phone, just so you can
Okay,
see what it looks like and stuff.
sure. That'd be cool. All right, I guess we did it. Hey, I want to wrap this show up. I want to thank Rand for coming on, talking some Klaatu. All we're trying to do here in the warehouse is turn you on to music, talk about those band. Oh, look at that. Talk
You
about
guys
those
want to hear it?
bands.
Does anybody want to hear it? I got a brand new laptop. We got to test it out and see if it
Well,
comes
go ahead and
through.
make a sound. But anyway, we'll end on that note with Rand playing something. But in the warehouse, we're just trying to turn you on to stuff and talk music. Let us know about Klaatu. Let us know if you have these albums. Rank them for us if you haven't, if you have them or you've heard them, and let us know what you think in the comments. I always look at the comments and will respond in some way. If I do like a little heart, I read it if I haven't responded. So we do want to hear from you and what's next in the warehouse item, something. And we'll see you on the next show. Good night, everybody.
Bye bye.